second Dale Carnegie convention, my first full year as a sales representative. And I was going to get to wear those medals that you just saw. I was so excited, mainly because I had sold 201 enrollments. You needed to have 200 to get the check. That last day was very busy. And I was working away at my desk, and I was a struggling salesperson. I'm sure none of you experienced that, just me. I was really struggling. And in fact, I was broke. But I had that check that was going to pay for the convention. I had that in mind. Well, Vern Lawn was the sponsor at the time, and he owned the franchise for Phoenix, Arizona, and he somehow hired me. Vern was the most kind person on this planet. And in fact, Vern and Maxine were givers. Vern came to my desk that day, and I'm all excited, and he says, I need to talk to you about your shoes. I'm thinking, shoes? You need new shoes. And I'm thinking, okay, you may be right. My heels were worn, the taps were off, the soles were near through, they were scuffed. And I did need new shoes. And I said, I will figure something out, I'll take your advice. And I'm thinking, ain't no way I can afford new shoes. So I went back to my desk and working away, making sales calls. Maxine, in the picture, comes to my office. And I don't know about you, but my boss has never said these words to me before. Come with me. Okay. So I go get in her car, and we go to a department store. And she proceeds to buy me not one pair of shoes, but 4 pairs of shoes. 3 for work, and 1 because a girl's got to have shoes. And I'm like, yeah, I love this company. So I have some really awesome shoes that I wear at the convention. To tell you how broke I was, though, we were sharing a room with 4 people. We drove to convention, and I brought snacks, because that's how I had to feed myself. Vern and Maxine were givers. I'll never forget, on many Friday, Vern would come to shake my hand to say, have a great weekend, but there was a $50 bill wadded up in his hand, because he knew I needed that money. He knew me. Now, for all of you, this is not doom and gloom, because I have lots of shoes now. My husband will tell you too many shoes, but Vern taught me the power of giving to people when they need it the most. I became a senior sales rep, an area manager, and then in 2006, we became franchisees. This was my chance to be like Vern, my mentor and my hero. So when we moved to Phoenix, when we moved from Phoenix to Birmingham, I do know where we live, we had an opportunity with the United Way. And the United Way needed us to train their leaders in the Loan Executive Program for public speaking. Now, they were kind of on the poor side, but had a big need. So my rep asked me, could we do this for basically free? I said, sure, I want to give back. So that started my relationship with United Way. And for the last 11 years, we have been helping with the Loan Executive Program. I'll show you a picture of this year's group. They started on the Eclipse Week. And if you weren't in the Eclipse area, it was a phenomenon. The loan executives are mandatory, recommendatory, whatever you call it, told to come and volunteer their time to stand up and speak in front of hundreds of people and convince them to give you their money and then get pummeled with questions that are mean. And they get to make cold calls and sales calls. Can you imagine you're working away in your factory and then you have to go stand up and speak in front of a group of hundreds of people? Now, we do that often, but they are scared half to death. And I'll never forget, every single first day, I've had a loan executive come to me and say, when I heard that I had to do this, I nearly bolted out the door. But then they promised me, we get Dale Carnegie trained. And I was excited to work with them. It has a great impact on the individuals. I go to the lunches that they have and see their progress. And this past year, there was this one gentleman who was an engineer, and he worked at an energy company. And I've never been able to do any business with them, and I was really excited to see his progress. Drew Langlow is our CEO of the United Way in Birmingham for Central Alabama. And one of the things that Drew was telling me about is he was sitting in the back row with the executives of this energy firm. This engineer gets up, he gives this compelling presentation, he motivates the team, he's excited, he's inspiring, people are in tears and they're laughing. And then Drew is sitting there next to the executive watching his face. The executive is, where did this guy come from? He'd never seen him present like that. Drew turns to him and says, could he have done that before the Loaned Executive Program? The executive said, no way. Drew says, Dale Carnegie. Guess who we started doing business with? Very cool. 13, 14 years I've been after those people. So we have an impact on the individuals. If you can imagine, in business, sometimes we get challenged with questions. Can you tell which ones are getting the mean questions in this picture? Can you tell the ones that are using our good news format, using a cushion, and then following up with why evidence that the United Way is a great thing? This is what I think on that day is the longest line drill in Dale Carnegie history. Because after they handle one question, they get to salsa down the middle, or I guess now I'll have to teach them to Charleston. But salsa down the middle, high-five each other as they resolve objections in front of an audience. So it helps them to build their confidence. Many of these loaned executives come from the 50 biggest companies in Birmingham. And when they go back to their companies, guess who they talk about as being the most awesome training? Dale Carnegie, absolutely. So we've been able to increase our business. Now last year, our loaned executives raised, I have to get the right amount, $39 million, $39,612, and Drew would be mad if I left out that 612. Reason is, because they are dynamic advocates for the United Way and how we can help our community. Now, what you probably don't know is that 92 cents of every dollar earned goes directly back to the 80 agencies that our United Way serves. So Dale Carnegie has a $4 million impact on our community with a free 6-hour workshop. Is that a good ROI? You're probably thinking about disruption because we've heard that a lot. And I know when I started in Dale Carnegie that nonprofits don't have money. That is wrong. With that $39 million, they get flex credits. Now, flex credits can be used to buy things like copiers and conferences and, Dale Carnegie courses. We've had 45 staffers in the Dale Carnegie course and 10 in our leadership training for managers, and we start our next leadership training for managers January 17th. With those flex credits, they're able to train their staff so they can run more efficiently, break down silos, and grow up their managers. Do those sound familiar? Well, it was quite coincidental that I was teaching the leadership training for managers class at the United Way last year. And as all you LTM trainers know, in session 1, we do a talk or a report on a leader that inspired us to be the person we are today. And of course, mine is Vern Lawn, mainly on accountability, because that's the thing he killed me on. But I talked about Vern and his impact. And in session 3, when I went to break, my phone had blown up. Texts, missed calls, emails, call Phoenix. And I knew why. On June 20th, Vern passed away. The coolest thing is when we got together for his celebration of life. Vern didn't just give to me. What we learned 30 years later, he bought a suit for Gary Nelson, because in Phoenix you need more than one suit. He bought shoes for Darren Wallace, because Darren was like me in need of shoes. We were young people that needed help. So if you're a senior salesperson, there's a great career path for you. If you're a salesperson, there's a great career path for you in Dale Carnegie. If you're a franchisee, know your team so you can help them have an impact in ways that they need it. And if you're a trainer, give of our services, because the impact you can have on one person can make it a world of difference. Mr. Carnegie has a quote that I love, and it's about when you give a person a compliment, you will probably forget it today, but for the other person, it could last a lifetime. I'm not sure if Vern remembers those 4 pairs of shoes, but I do. Thank you.